Total hypocrisy on behalf of the government. We're going to get to that in a second, but first let's set the context. So Jimmy Carr, a comedian, told a joke in which nobody ever wants to talk about the gypsy deaths in the Holocaust because nobody wants to focus on the positives. Ouch. That's a lot. And people are protesting. People are mad. And the government is talking about legislation where it would hold certain streaming services accountable, like Netflix, for this kind of joke. They say, like, it's too far. It's not okay and should never be acceptable in society. So I got a quick question for you guys. Do you guys think that it is the government and tech institutions' job to protect your feelings, or do you think it is your personal job to protect your feelings and get on with your life? And of course, there's a spectrum in between here. So I want to hear from you guys in the comments down below. Whose job is it to take care of your feelings and protect you from, quote, harmful jokes? Is it your job? Is it the government's job? Is it a mixture of both? Let's get into it. But this article seems to point out a certain level of hypocrisy of these politicians, which I want to get into a little bit as the main part of this video, because let's be honest, it's super easy to take aim at a comedian and fire away because they told a joke you don't like. It's a lot harder to make legislation that creates equality and fairness for everyone, especially when everyone has very, very different styles and way of life. This article goes on, I'll leave a link to the article in the description, but the article goes on to talk about, just how, you know, they promised, they promised a special bill that would reduce inequality amongst the traveler community, and it hasn't happened yet. And they're also coming out with new bills that will make it even more difficult for these people. So on one hand, you've got a government who's passing bills and legislation that's not actually helping this community and potentially making their lives even worse, but that same government is going to stand on their side and pay moral lip service to their cause by taking fire at a comedian and trying to make legislation so that you can't have, certain levels of comedy. Some levels of comedy are just unacceptable in that area. So this brings me to an interesting thought. Do you guys think there will be a prohibition on some forms of comedy? Like, wouldn't that be insane? Netflix, Facebook, you can't have, you know, certain kinds of jokes on there. And so what we would end up having is bootleg comedy, underground comedy clubs, and that people would pay lots of money to go to, and they would go there in secret. That would make a really cool novel. But yeah, the problem with that is that who gets to decide what joke is too much? Like, I guarantee you, there are some people out there that want this legislation, and they would basically ban every single comedian. Dave Chappelle, Joe Rogan, George Carlin, if he was still alive today, rest in peace, Jimmy Carr. They would just ban everybody, and they would never be able to do any jokes ever again. And so I think it's really, really difficult with something that is as subjective as comedy to start legislating it. With that, I think you just end up having a very, very difficult you create a really bad situation, I would think. And so that's kind of like where I'm coming from. I don't think it's the government's job to protect our feelings. However, I do understand that the words we say are important, the words we say are powerful. And it's kind of this weird juxtaposition where, yes, comedy allows us to laugh in the face of awful things that have happened to us, and laugh in the face of the darkness. I think that's very, very important. There's something inherently healing about comedy. But on the other time, you never want to be laughing at other people's expense and hurting them. So it's kind of this interesting balance that I'm sort of working through. And I'd love to know what your thoughts on that balance are. Because the words we say do have power, because I'm someone who believes in the power of thought and the power of words. I try to control my vocabulary. Like, I'm big into all of that Tony Robbins type stuff. So it would be hypocritical of me to just say, no, the jokes don't matter. It's fine. Get over it. Because I do believe that the words we say and the thoughts that we allow to come into our mind do affect us. So I'm kind of mostly to the right on this, but not all the way, because I do believe that there are some jokes that are just better left unsaid. The cost reward ratio is just isn't there. For the amount of laughs you get, you might hurt some people, and that just really isn't quite there, you know. But at the same time, some people just need to get a life and get over themselves and stop whining about jokes and actually work on something that's actually useful. So I'm definitely not on that the government should protect you from jokes kind of energy. I think the freer a society, the better. I think we just need to work hard to practice a little bit of stoicism and, you know, get on with our lives and not let jokes be, you know, so injuring to us. Bearing in mind that some jokes are better left unsaid. I'm not sure if I feel that way about this joke because it's just a bit of wordplay. But I do understand and have empathy for the people who feel that it's just totally unacceptable. But this is a book that I'm going to be going through and I'm going to be talking a lot about on this channel. So if that sounds fun to you and you want to learn a bit more about stoicism, mastering your mind, and things like that in these crazy, divisive times, the whole point of this channel is that we can learn to thrive through chaotic times together. Because let's face it, we only got one life. I got like 80 years left if I'm lucky enough to live to like 105, which I do intend to do. But I only got 80 years left, and I can't control what the waves of time and history are going to do with legislation and governments and all that kind of weird stuff. So I am just going to be practicing a lot of this stuff so that I can live a good life regardless of what all the crazy stuff goes down during my life. And I encourage you guys to do the same. If you want to join me on that journey, like and subscribe right now. Leave your comments and thoughts down below so that we can get this thing rolling. Thank you so much for being here. Those are my thoughts. I hope it makes sense. Let me know how you guys feel in the comments down below. I already said that. And that's my cue to leave because I'm repeating myself. Have a good